SQL data. You're actually doing some processing between that. That's number two. The other thing is you can, just do yourself and put directly in your application database. But what happens is, in my mind, when you create an application, the new application, you define a specific interface, and you would only want to channel any data or any information getting in this application just via these interfaces. You don't generally want to create a separate application, update your database, which is for this new application, directly by say a third party or individual component, because then it may break your application for some or other reason. So what you generally do is you define, you architect a whole new application and you define interfaces. You don't want to keep changing the interfaces because you are now connecting to different system. So how do you channel that data? Through it, you have static interfaces. You use BizTalk in between. Again, this is when we're talking about like enterprise. Now I don't know the definition of that, like how do we define that? But any
business application actually, any application that facilitates and monitors a business usually.
But that is what I think, like that writing your own piece every single time or writing it and updating your database in the backend directly probably would not be a problem.
Can I rub on this board all these things? Erase. I want to draw something.
Yeah, but let him.
Whatever Jomit is saying is we can do with the separate application and servers and everything. But after considering all case and different type of application, we will end up with another BizTalk.
Well, but it is possible. Like if the requirement is very limited, if the requirement is only to read a specific protocol all the time, and you have very good handle on that, you probably don't need to buy BizTalk like that. But then you obviously invest that particular application, you will make it robust enough to make sure that everything works fine. Whereas this one is like out of box, everything is there, it's well tested, robust enough.
Scalable as well as they say.
Definitely, if Microsoft is producing this software, so that definitely it's of some use otherwise. But I'm just trying to find out. So in my mind, this message box is one of the key things which I think we would be lacking.
So
for example, that's our architecture, right? But again, you can still do that. You can still do it in your application. So you can understand the BizTalk architecture and apply that.
Yeah, but then for this business rules, you have to persist the states of in the message box. So for example, if I start a business rule, it's not going to complete at this point of time. It can be completed. The workflow can be continued up to 15 days or 16 days, whatever. So I think BizTalk would be capable of handling all these things and publishing and subscribing and sending all the stuff. And maybe it's connected with the file system and all the Windows architecture.
It is actually like it's always it's constantly listening on a specific port, and that's where the port comes in. So it's listening on a specific port to see if the file has received file of this kind of format is received, and every time you create a receive location. So if we talk about only receive, you actually, like you said in .jmit, then it is you have to specify that way. So you say star.jmit or star.xml, star.http, whatever, and that is the file which is always being looked into or listened to.
I mean, one of the examples which we used in Harrods, I think, Kalpesh, that the Harrods database was a proprietary SAP database. So they have huge records, and to update or cancel a record, return a record, it should have an immediate effect, and that's why we're using that web services. And so whenever an order has been cancelled, you need to call a web service, and the web service would be on the BizTalk. It will be an open port on BizTalk. So when you call a web service, it will run a workflow which would just update that SAP database or particular record. You just need to pass some ID onto it. So that was one of the useful cases.
So for example like a SAP, if you take the SAP they have different modules. Yeah. So it is integrating with all the modules. It's communicating with the module. Suppose that modules are designed in different application, different softwares. Then how we can communicate? That is the only way to communicate through some common platform. So Microsoft has come up with a common platform to get or receive and show the data to from different application to the common to the common place. That's why that BizTalk has come.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Business point of view, one more thing that Microsoft is just saying, BizTalk server seamlessly is built in a way that it seamlessly interacts with WCF, WPF, not WCF, WWF, SQL Server 2005 obviously, and MOS 2007. So its integration or interactivity with all these systems is made convenient already for which we have to do it.
Windows workflow is a child of orchestration. The whole look and feel, if you see Windows workflow is totally accepted. I mean, just put it from the orchestration concept.
Okay. Well, before we go into this, one thing which you mentioned, like when you brought up when Arul brought up the example of different banks connecting to central port, you said why we need BizTalk and why not just MSN queue, just using queue. I think what I want to bring up is if it is just messaging of queuing of messages and then sending it from one location to another, one subsystem to another, that may be okay. But if you need any processing between that, then you MSN sufficient for that. Because you still need some processing. So either you then have to supplement yourself with a workflow kind of a program, put it together with MSMQ, which is always listening on to that, and then pass it on.
That's what I said. So orchestration and message box, these are the key things. So apart from it, everything is like fine, okay. But there should be some architecture differences in BizTalk, which makes us all this processing very fast. So I understand that if I create an application to read an XML and then export it to a SQL server, it will not be as fast and as good as BizTalk. But then why BizTalk has this performance edge? So there must be some architecture.
Tell you what, we get more of these answers and more of very elaborate and convincing answers as we proceed with the book. This is just 5% of the book we're just speaking.
But yeah, the valid question, like why do all this thing? The architecture itself, whatever they proposed or implemented, is better. Definitely, like I think it's like there are ports which are open and listen and subscription and publishing mechanism which is in place. That otherwise we'll have to quit. We have to understand how they work, how those concepts work, and then implement them. Whereas here is
so, for example, we can bind a port to the folder, so it can automatically accept a file from a folder and then extract it. Otherwise, .NET has a file watcher component. We can use a file watcher component, but there would be a third layer then. If you're using the file watcher component that uses the .NET framework, that again use the operating system and then.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing which Arun has said. There are different banks. Okay, they have their own systems running well and very fine. All systems are consider all are in different environments, built completely differently, but works on some common methodologies. Like now, government or IBI wants to have some sort of want to collect some data information from them. Okay.
Well, so any transaction beyond 20,000, that has to be reported to RBI anyway.
Yeah. So in that case, you need some sort of format to receive from RBI's point of view. But all of the banks would provide it in different formats. If you do processing individually for each bank and have individual application running for each and every bank, well, that can be done. But would it be as efficient? No. Secondly, maintenance or maintaining that continuous process would be very difficult. Whereas if you can define some workflows over here or implement some workflows over here using BizTalk and have your own processing, then it will run in a very seamless way. How this architecture makes it run in very seamless way, I don't know that, because I have not gone into that depth. But certainly it helps in that way. Secondly, these applications are individual applications which are running. Okay, you can have number of integrations between them. Okay, not necessary that you want this and this only. There could be any kind of such integration. That is possible over here and is available to every else. Just what you need to do is you need to develop individual adapters based on that, and you can put in number of things over here. So it's whole your business logic available over here, and you can still run with all individual applications.
And for all this bank, we did only one markup language, it's banking markup language, BML. So if you have BML, you can give any data to anywhere.
That's right. Sorry? That's in UK.
That's been applied now here.
Yeah, it's now it is.
It's for ICICI, it's for HSBC and HDFC.
Yeah.
SBI are currently working on it.
There is a format called XBRL, which is there in the UK, which is like what you just said, and BML, which probably I don't know about BML much, but I think it looks like a kind of XBRL format, which is there in the UK for the last 3 years now.
So basically, BizTalk is not a software as we are comparing. If you want to compare with any enterprise application that we make, it's not an enterprise application, but it is something that facilitates us to do various enterprise activities inside or whatever you make.
Well, it's a middleware, right? So like what we are talking about, it's a middleware. Where middleware, what does it do? There's an in, there's
Facilitates.
Facilitator, that's all.
Yeah, facilitator kind of.
Okay, how will this fit into the business intelligence perspective of a product or a project? How will you enhance the overall BI of a project using BizTalk?
Yeah. So let me give an example. For an example, I can give an example from the TVS group. TVS group is running a different application in different places. Like if you are a TVS dealer, so you cannot afford the BizTalk to be installed in your place. So they are providing a separate application which is running in one local area. Okay, that data are communicated to the regional office. From regional office, that regional office communicates to the centralized server in the TVS office. Okay, so all the business process is done in this BizTalk server. So whatever the data comes from the dealers, zonal office and the divisional office, everything is, all the things they are doing it in the BizTalk server, then they are preparing the final report from this head office. Because BizTalk, they got the dealers each and every dealer cannot afford their BizTalk install in their each and every location. So there is a very small application which is runs in a small one area that is communicated to the higher level. From that, all the business logics, everything is included in that. Then they are doing all the process. So in that case, like that is very good.
I have another example, but let me first ask you, what do you understand? Like, how do you understand business intelligence?
Okay, I'll give you an example which was on the blog at Conchengo, our office. So, for example, in UK there's a rule that you cannot purchase more than 4 pack of disprints at a common time, 4 pack of paracetamols. So if you buy 5th paracetamol, Tesco or anybody shop would not allow you because it's a kind of an addiction. But then there was a guy, I think it was Kiran or somebody, who purchased 5, but then 3 were for his child, and it was a very low dose. So what he came up with, that Tesco or all these guys, whoever had made this rule in UK, they should have made it intelligently. Rather than just sticking out to paracetamol 4, they should intelligently identify that among this 4, these 3 are something which are only being used by child and they cannot harm as used as drugs. So when you give it to the system, Tesco system, or for the automatic checkout, you will not have a 5th paracetamol checked out. But then the system should be able to identify that this paracetamol is of this category, and that's why he can now purchase 8 because these 3 are under category, and this is kind of a business intelligence.
Okay, what I'm looking for is business rules being made by the person who is using the software and applied on the software. One more example of this would be suppose you are into an insurance company. Insurance company would be having a different rule to give an insurance and the email of the insurance to a person staying in Bombay compared to and who is having a local train compared to a person staying in Baroda. If the person's age is more than 35 and the person is staying in Bombay, in that case the insurance premium should be so and so. It's business rules. Although we are not current to how flexible business rules BizTalk provides, but it does provide us an option of business rules. I am yet to see whether it allows us fully to author rules according to our own data items or variables or whatever you can call it. But if it does, then you can make a number of rules and apply it to the orchestration that you have.
Okay. Now, when we talk about business rules, their business rules are based on processes. Now, what I understand of business intelligence is which is generated from the data. So you get the data and you, on the basis of a slot of data, you create or the business rules. They execute and they create their own rules of filtering that data. That's what, because the BI is always based on data. So it's not based on a fixed process. That if you have 5 people do this, if you have 6 people do this. No. But what if you have 7 people?
On the left hand side of the expression and the fixed data is on the right. I'll tell you. If you make a business rule with only one condition, for example, if age is more than 40, do so and so. 40 remains constant. That does not become variable, but the age is the variable data that you are talking of. It will come into the system. You get versus at age will be compared to 40 and go. But this is just an expression. This kind of check can be done by the expression that the BizTalk provides. But if it is very complex, if the age is more than 40, credit card, payment is this thing, and or and lot of things into parenthesis, then that variable data that you're talking of, it should not be fixed. It is not fixed. It comes from the process. Step 1, 2, 3, 4. At the fourth step, if the data which comes at the fourth step is 40 XYZ, then the business rule will execute depending on that data. It will not be fixed. Fixed side will be the RHS, as I said. If age is more than 40, that 40 will be fixed, but the age will not be fixed.
So
that's how business rules are.
Elaborating a little bit. So in BizTalk, what I understand is rules is again a separate component. So you can create a set of rules and plug them inside your orchestration. For orchestration, if you just get a basic orchestration, simple, that itself will take care of your business rule. Like what you can do is, if it is a help support kind of application, you are receiving a bunch of emails from different customers, but you want to process only certain email which has specific subject line or which has mandatory things in that. Otherwise, you just flag them out and then send it back to them saying you need this one. Now that is what I consider as intelligence processing. You don't want to mention it on your website that this is how it should be, otherwise it won't get inside the system. Rather, you accept everything and then inform that this is missing and then you send them back. Number one. Number two is you are expecting any kinds of orders, say, I don't know, like some kind of data from suppliers or vendors, and you want to facilitate your own people. So if it is for a specific asset management group, you want to facilitate your own people to populate the data which is always relevant to them. Not that they have to understand every single suppliers and vendors format, rather they get processed in a common format which is understood by your own people. And that, again, the processing of that, you can just do it by simple basic orchestration. Rules comes in picture where your complex set of the processing, you extract that, put it in one rule, so that then you can modularize that and use them again into another orchestration. So then you have bounded to another send and receive port, you can still use the same thing. So rules is like a separate entity where it is like a pluggable component to the BizTalk, whereas orchestration itself facilitates your rules.
Yes, so this is how business, if it facilitates authoring of the rules up to whatever limit you can think, in that case BizTalk, that would be again considered as a USP of the BizTalk, where a business analyst without writing C# code can make very complex business rules and it will get executed, and you will see it executed without actually writing code, and it will act upon the data which comes. Now if you want to, of course, make it more complicated, you can have your own whole engine kind of thing also, but that would become far too ahead actually.
Well, again, I think we're debating more on why do we need BizTalk, and I think there is always
I'm just trying to focus on that how BizTalk can help in business intelligence. That's all.
No, coming back to technical basic.
Coming back.
That was a good one.
Initially, you said that you gave an example of one way and two way. That's clear to me, but in terms of all that examples, where it is fitting of two-way port and one-way port.
Two-way port, when you are handling the HTTP format and you want to process synchronous data. So you're connected to a WCF service which is sending you something and expecting a response back immediately. Then the receive port, just one-way receive port is not going to suffice that. So plus it is an HTTP protocol. So the receive adapter is not catering to HTTP protocol. For that you will have to have request response adapter.
So it is for synchronous or it's for asynchronous.
Asynchronous.
Asynchronous is what that they're waiting for something, and
asynchronous you don't wait for it. Synchronous you wait for it.
No, but that two separate ports are indicating.
No, it's just one is received, the other is sent. So they both can be one way. Even sending can be just one way.
So the two way is for asynchronous or asynchronous. Synchronous, right?
Request response, where you send request and get the response back.
Okay.
So you are looking for the response immediately after.
Okay.
True.
And like I said, there is on the send port there is another call On the receiving side, it is request response. On SAND, it is called a solicit response. I still need to look into that. I have not, but that's a separate, again, small thing, which probably looks like request response, but solicit has to have some meaning in that, which I don't know right now.
Okay, so when you say request response, which means that when the HTTP comes, request comes to this port, it will immediately get the data from this port back. Or
From that
receiver.
From that, so the second one, so the one that we have. But it gets through the whole message box database.
Orchestration and everything. Okay.
So now, if you want to start some BizTalk development, just if brief overview, how we start. I mean, it's what is involved in development. I mean, in most it is a different. Like we have to set up something and then go configure lots of things and everything. Then you set up an environment for development and etc. etc. For BizTalk, I understand it's something similar to you install a BizTalk server on machine and then you immediately start with coding or what, I'm not sure. So it's a designing or pipeline.
Does Visual Studio have extensions for BizTalk?
Kind of like, yes, kind of.
Yes.
As soon as you install BizTalk, you get plugin in that, so your project creation, like just like SharePoint, you have a separate BizTalk an entity in that. So you say create BizTalk project.
And then within BizTalk you will get pipelines, schemas and whatnot.
Schemas, pipelines, so all kinds, like just like SharePoint, you have all the entities inside.
But we are, as far as I am concerned, I'm still to see some code.
Is
Reading
it
for it
is
actually. After my exam, it's got a lot of things. What we have covered is just the introduction of it up to now. So we had to,
Yeah, it is an
it's a little bit tough to speak right now as to what all can we do with that.
What I understand is like when we create our own custom adapter, it will be our own code, and you deploy that assembly
Like
somewhere,
assembly,
yeah,
so.
and everything gets deployed. At least what I have looked in tutorials, whatever I have understood is everything gets deployed in GAC right now. So just like SharePoint, it gets deployed in GAC. You can uninstall, install that, and stuff like that. So if you are creating your own custom adapter, you create that, build it, and then deploy it into GAC, and then it's going to be identified. It's going to be available as part of the either it's a receive adapter or send adapter. Then you can see that as a part of the list. So when you are configuring to the admin part, BizTalk admin, in your combo drop down, you can say, okay, this is my particular application. And how does it get identified? I think it's BizTalk which is reading that from the GAC.
And also, I mean, Microsoft has got a Microsoft Enterprise Library factory. So if you install that and you just right click and create, if you want to create fault classes or data contracts or maybe orchestration or BizTalk may be available there for SandBase and all this stuff, it just creates all these libraries automatically. But then what I see here is in BizTalk, compared to most, the area of development is much less, unless you want to create your own adapters or all those stuff, because most of the things are there.
There's a lot out of box, so you don't really have to do much. Only in certain specific cases you have to create your own.
And I guess this orchestrations can in some way access some web services and can be exposed through the web services and stuff. I have come across a few articles, but I mean it's too early to go through those in detail. But there is a lot of stuff ahead.
There are other cool things that I like is about just like Excel or Word, they have all the small calculation kind of macros. So similar thing is available in BizTalk. They are called as functoids.
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 Okay.
So you use summation, you use loop. So you can actually have mapping of two different source and destination schema, and you kind of loop them. So you say loop all the items. So you have different elements in your XML file for source schema. Loop through them and then apply it onto total onto a destination schema.
Yeah, mapping tool is very fine over there.
So that's the coding that you are avoiding. Then otherwise you will have to code that. You have to. So what you do otherwise?
Yeah, in background it writes the class for the same as well.
It's
So
it's the same tool which we use for creating cubes and all these things in SQL Server reporting. So if you want to create a cube or all the stuff of BI, you just get a toolbar where you can just drag on the max and all these functions on there. I think it's the same function.
Yeah.
Its UI is very enriched as expected.
Yeah, but that's
in any
Microsoft.
UI.
So Microsoft, you're gonna beat them UI.
You didn't like it, like it.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
As any other Microsoft UI, of course. Very user friendly.
Very colorful
If we were,
as
you
well.
said that if we were to make a similar of the system of the same sort.
Okay, but ideally, if any of you guys are really working on BizTalk, I would really like to focus on EAS's email. Has anybody got the EAS email from Business Intelligence Community? I think Kamlesh has got it. So then there's another product called Ab Initio, which is of a similar functionality at BizTalk. And the guys, they approached, I think, EAS and told that BizTalk is the most crap product of Microsoft because these are the functionality and these are the things which Ab Initio gives you. And
but that is that email. I have seen that, read it properly now, and it looks like to understand that particular concept.
We need to understand Ab Initio.
Yeah, but then it will take more time to get to that level because we still are very much just a very superficial knowledge that we have on BizTalk. What it requires is an in-depth knowledge about the BizTalk working, and then comparing against the what is called AG something. What is it called?
Ab Initio.
And only then you can really comment on that. Otherwise,
but then they have listed the points that these are the things which BizTalk doesn't do and Ab Initio does all performance-wise and all stuff.
4 TPS versus 400 TPS, so 4 transactions per second in BizTalk and 400
you need only 4 CPUs and BizTalk need 20 CPUs and all the stuff. So it's a good thing.
It is a good thing. So we can. I think the good thing would be in my mind to keep that in mind. And when you are going into detail of BizTalk and try to probe into it. But right now.
But then can we do something which would enhance the overall performance of BizTalk? Looking at Ab Initio. So if you look at Ab Initio and see that these are the things which are running and in this way in Ab Initio, and if you code it or configure it in certain way in BizTalk, it can enhance the performance maybe. I don't know. But that requires an intense knowledge of BizTalk as well as Ab Initio.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to at least get one thing out and we can then go into the second one. But they
keep on working on
BizTalk. Those guys have done a lot of BizTalk work, and then they realize that this is not fine. And then they have come into.
But anyway, I mean, because Ab Initio is their own company and their own product, so they will definitely market it that way. If you go to Microsoft, they will say some different thing about Ab Initio.
TSYS, you must have heard of TSYS company, right? One of the clients of Conchina also, and it was one company which we were closely interacting with while I was in the previous. They used to claim that WWF is total bullshit. What the product we have is far better than that, far faster than that. It was true also to an extent, but Microsoft cannot be competed with in marketing or UI or whatever. I saw it running, and it used to, the workflow used to execute much faster, and the speed at which the WWF performance was lower than that, no doubt. That's why Microsoft ended up pulling a few people from them actually. Before the WWF was there, they had made a pure workflow product completely ready and used to run like real fast. So bad things do happen.
We need to think a different thing, because it's not always we waiting for Microsoft to give out something and then working on it, rather than thinking that what we can do new, or what we can add for all these things. So we have been trained to use the tools which Microsoft produces.
What you are saying, if you do that, you go to Microsoft Hyderabad.
The thing is, Microsoft don't want you to think on that, otherwise they will lose their job.
Or they will call you to Hyderabad to get recruited there and eventually to Microsoft US.
No, but that is a good point, because Microsoft always looks for those kind of people who comes with innovative idea, and that is where the MVP things come into place. Wherever they see there are a lot of different ideas, they can grab them and then okay.
So we see a potential MVP over here.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Now you have to define, please make it clear what MVP is.
Is Microsoft valuable person?
No, that is fine. That is known one, right?
What are the changes that present according to me?
No, fine. Okay. I think so. Well, it's just a beginning, so I think we'll. But I like a lot of interaction that happened.
Or was too huge for an overview session. Overview is a small word for that, I guess. What we discussed.
Whatever we could talk, I think it's fine. I'm happy with that. And it's like
I think this was a lot more interactive. I think we need to come up with something which would be pro against the audience, and then they start talking.
Yeah, you did a nice job.
Say, yeah, they'll not talk. So you have to come up with something which everybody said no. Okay, then they will start talking. See? So, no, see, really, that works now.
Yeah, you did a good job with that.
That works now.
Good.
Okay.
So what's next? What's next on? Yeah, what's next on Friday? Next Friday?
Same will continue.
well, but probably with some demos, I would.
I think Kamlesh can do something on Moss.
Yeah, I think you can get the deployment.
At least you give me an overview of MOS first of all.
Yeah.
I don't know
There
much.
are two things which comes to my mind. One is deployment of MOS. Definitely, he has very good grip on that. Second is I'm also keen to still look into mixing. So if we don't see it now, I think we will probably lose an opportunity.
But Big Data, all we can see is the code that we wrote.
No. What I'm saying is if you work with someone there, like with Richard or whoever else was involved, and get it established either here or connect to their server, but then you
last time
He was talking about going to URL yesterday.
Yeah, he was mentioning that he would be sending it.
If you want, you can get the code. He told me.
So if that happens, I think because why I'm asking that is for the reason that in the for my own vested interest that when we are looking into different proposal, if we know what is this about, to some extent we can kind of relate with our proposal when we are doing the presets. Number one, number two is MOS deployment. Fine, we know about it. Most people are working on that right now. But something which is not known outside you two guys, I think that will be more useful to share with the entire team. That's what I understand. And this we can take it out.